Hello everybody. This is about my fifth time trying to film this segment here. So I'm going to try to do it while I take a little bit of walk, get outside with Moira here. And yeah, so I think yesterday I left off with into my freshman year, the story of when I was finishing up becoming All-State and then making the decision, or really I guess everything that led up to the decision of doing cross country in the fall. So at the end of my freshman year, I was pretty amped up, and I absolutely loved track. Obviously, I had had a very successful season. I was really sad to see all the seniors leave, and I guess I was ready to get back into the next part of it. And so at the end of the season, I had won an award. I think it was something of a freshman athlete of the year or something like that. So anyways, I got told by my coach that I could come and pick it up from his cross country practice. And I said, okay, great. I worked in the mornings. I worked as a swim teacher in the mornings, and I really enjoyed that. And I was also involved in swimming. I had actually, for the first time in my life, joined a club swimming team, and instead of just the park district team. And I had actually signed up for driver's ed as well. And so all of those combined together, I was biking a lot because that was my primary mode of transportation. I always say that I was in the absolute best shape of my life that summer, and it was because of the choices and decisions that followed from that. So I came a couple different times to come get that plaque from Harvey because, ironically enough, he apparently didn't bring it to the practice that he said he would. And he recommended that I could come and start running with them. And I was like, okay, sure. I can start my swim lessons job about an hour later, and I'll stay in shape in the summertime. Plus, I really enjoyed those girls. I thought they were really nice. They were, they'd been role models for me during the track season. And so I decided that I would continue on and do some summer running with them. It just so happened that I was able to run the group that I got eventually put with. I don't really remember how it happened 100%, but eventually I got put with the varsity group, I guess, because I was able to run that pace. And for me, those girls were the ones who I was able to talk to pretty easily. It's always been easier for me to talk to someone when I've been running or walking or doing something active, because I think the brain actually physically flows better. Just the thoughts and everything come out a little bit better when you are moving and active. And so that summer in the morning, I would bike 4 miles from my house to my high school. I would run for about an hour and a half, or something like that. And then I would actually bike again from the high school to the pool to work. And from there, I would work for a couple hours, bike back home from the pool, which was about maybe 4 miles back home. So basically, if you're adding that up already, I'm biking 12 miles a day. And as well as running in the morning. After I got home, I'd eat lunch, and then I'd head off to swim practice for 2 hours. So I was basically doing a triathlon every day. After that, I would go to driver's ed in the evening. And so I had quite the busy summer, but I was literally in the best shape of my life. I always say I wish I could have seen what I could have done in both sports at the end of the summer, because I was in really good shape. And I had to choose one, though. And so what made my decision pretty easy was the group of people and that I had found in cross country. And that group of girls was special. They had something, they had a goal, first of all, that I had looked at and was like, wow, I could be a part of this. I could actually, go to every day after school. Do I want to go and swim, or do I want to go and run? And for me, one thing that made that decision a lot easier, I really did. We had a great swimming team, and I enjoyed the team. There was nothing negative about that team. But for me, I really enjoyed being able to talk. I enjoyed being able to actually kind of relieve some frustrations and be able to talk to people on the runs. And in a swimming pool, you're not able to do that. It's a lot of individual work. It's for a team goal, but it's a lot of individual work. And for me, I think that's what made my decision a lot easier. Is I had formed a really close bond with my high school coach and with the girls on the team. And that was kind of what made my decision for me. So the day before blackout in Illinois, we have a blackout season where a week where coaches cannot see their athletes. And I went to my swimming coach and told him that I was going to do cross country that year. Went to the cross country coach, told him I was going to do cross country that year, and never looked back. That was probably the best decision of my life, and not because of the success. I always say I was successful because of the team and because of the people I was coached by, not because I was necessarily good at something. You can be good at anything. You can be successful, but it can have an impact on you, and you can be impactful if you allow that atmosphere to penetrate your entire life. And I think that's what happened for me. I never focused on being the best on the team. I never focused on being the top person. Oftentimes I was, but I never focused on that because I focused on being a part of the team, and I just wanted to do anything that they were doing. That cross-country season was extremely successful for 3 reasons. One, I made some of the very, very best friends of my entire life. It's always been hard for me to make friends, I think, before, because I have a very strong personality, and I also had a lot of mental health problems, which I can talk about later, but which kind of did not help me making friends, and it was hard to keep friends because I was not a very good friend myself. And beyond that, though, I found a group of people that I really loved. Secondly, I found a group of coaches that I trusted and that believed in me, and that for the first time in my life really truly cared about who I was and what I was doing. Thirdly, I was very successful because I physically was very successful. I ended up 28th in the state that year, and every single race, the only thing I focused on, kind of like my freshman year when I was focusing on just handing the baton off in first, the only thing I focused on in my sophomore year cross country was stick with Nicole and Becca. And those are the two top girls in our team. And to this day, I still stick with Nicole and Becca. They are 2 of my closest friends. And because they really taught me who I was with running, and a lot about life, how to live. I looked up to them, to me as a sophomore. It was like, wow, these seniors really know what they're doing. They've been here for 4 years. They know what they're doing. They have all of life's answers. And I know that they were going through a lot of things in their lives as well, some of which I didn't even realize until a lot later. But looking back on it, the way they took me in as a sophomore who had never run cross country before, and basically I was coming in as eventually halfway through the season, I was the front runner, and to be able to really, I guess, process that later, kind of looking back, being like, wow, as seniors, they actually took me in as a teammate, instead of saying, oh, wow, this sophomore is, beating me. This is stupid. This is awful. No, they took me in and they said, no, she can help us. This is a teammate. And that to me, even later, stood out more than anything else when I look back on it, is saying that's the type of people that they were. That's the type of people that they are. That's the type of people that cross country produces. And that was something big for me, that I could have role models in my life that could help me in a lot of different ways. Sophomore year, I've definitely talked about before, was quite a struggle for me, crossing a street here. I had a lot of mental health problems. I struggled with depression and anxiety. I struggled with self-harm. I struggled with making friends. I struggled really with everything, with my parents, with just everything. I was a typical teenager, but I was also struggling with things I didn't know what was going on in my life. And that was really tough for me. And running really helped me through that. I had a couple hiccups during sophomore year. During gymnastics season, I made some poor choices and ended up almost I did get suspended from a couple of sports games. And so a couple meets there, and that's those lessons that I learned when I sat down in Bob Quinn's office, who's now the athletic director at Naperville North. He made a huge impact on me in high school. Him and Harvey together, and Greta Havey, All three of those people made probably the biggest impacts on me in high school. And he sat me down when he had the discussion with me of, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And how can you improve from this? It was, well, you have some choices to make here, and those choices are not going to be made by me. I'm going to be enforcing the rules, but the choices that you have to make are whether or not you want to be a better athlete and a better person, and really, who is that person? And I had to sit down and think about who I wanted to be and what role sports played in that. Because if I wanted to be someone who was very good and competitive and just a good person and a person who cared about the world around me, then I needed to not make the choices that I was making. If I wanted to not care about sports, not care about my teammates, let my teammates down, and continue to do that, and eventually probably get suspended from all sports, then I could continue the choices I was making. And he kind of left me with that. And that was a big wake-up call for me my sophomore year, that, you know, I could make choices that were my own. And the choices I made, you know, they affected my life, but when it started affecting other people's lives, that's what made me realize that I could be a better person. I could change, and I could actually change for the better. And that's kind of what, I guess, saved me. Running has always saved me. I always have my quote, run to live, live to run. And for me, that quote is so much more than just a quote. That is everything I do. Running is a metaphor for life. When you run, I break up a race into 3 different parts. I break up a 5K or like a 3-mile race, we race in Illinois, into 3 parts. First mile, I always tell my team, you got to run the first mile. You got to trust it. First mile with your legs. Your legs will carry you. Your legs will get you through any race. They're ready to go. You run the second mile with your mind. The second mile is the hardest of the race. That second mile, the middle part of high school there, so if you're in that middle part of high school, that's hard. It's you got to keep into it. You got to keep mentally a part of it. You have to be mentally aware, mentally acute, and just a part of the race there. And third mile, you got to run with your heart. You got to run that third mile with your heart because you put everything you have into it. And when you put everything you have into it, that's where the magic comes. That's where everything comes together because you're trusting your team, you're trusting yourself, and you gotta make it through there. Another 3 words that I say that you can use with that are faith, focus, finish. That's what we had in college. And faith, focus, finish. You gotta have faith in yourself. You gotta have faith in your coaches. You have to have faith in your way of life, and you have to have faith that you are doing and making the right choices that are going to be right not only for you but for everybody around you. You have to focus. You have to focus on what you're doing in life. You focus on your schoolwork. You have to focus on your relationships. You have to focus on your friendships. You have to focus on the choices that you've made that have brought you to this point. And that's going to be important because what you focus on is ultimately going to be what you do in life and who you are. The last part is finish. And you have to finish strong. Finish every race strong, finish the day strong, finish the year strong, and you have to actually finish. And that was important to me because there were a lot of times I wanted to give up. There's a lot of things in life that you can struggle with and that push you to the brink. Isolation, being alone, things that are frustrating, new babies, and relationships, strained relationships, a lot of things that push you to the brink, but you can never give up. You have to have faith that you can get through to the end finish line and whatever that finish line might be. So that's my philosophical talk. I can get a lot deeper if I'm talking one-on-one with people. Again, I'm sometimes a little bit better when I'm walking, but it's also very cold out here. So really, I would like to go on to my college experience next, and that'll kind of take us into tomorrow. So for now, have a great day, and